You know, we're out here right now with the Wired to Fish guys, and we're on Kentucky Lake, and we're trying to follow this fall transition. You know, we're looking for shad, we're looking for a lot of these gravel bars, grass beds, and things like that. But when you're watching this, you're sitting at home, probably watching the snowflakes fly and thinking about springtime and you know, that early season fishing. And you know, one of the things that I really like to do is I love to get out there early. You know, it's a time of the year when the fish really get grouped up. You know, the water's cold. You know, they can be in a big school and you can catch some of the biggest fish of the year. So I still like to power fish. You know, I mean, some people think that when it's real cold, you got to slow down and you got to fish deep. And that's not necessarily the case. You know, the one thing that I've learned is that I can really apply a lot of those same techniques. So my favorite lures for fishing, you know, that winter period and that early spring period are still crankbaits. You know, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna have a jig, I'm gonna have a swim bait, I'm gonna have a lot of other things ready to go. But to cover water and find bass, you really gotta have 3 lures, and I'm gonna show you 3. First and foremost, you gotta have a lipless crankbait. You know, a 1/2 ounce red-eye shad is a go-to bait for me. I've won a ton of money with this. You know, it's very efficient for covering flatter areas, shallower areas, because again, it sinks, but on a cast and retrieve, you know, this is gonna get you to, you know, from 0 to 8 foot or so. That's that efficient zone. If you're going a little bit deeper than that, you can go up to the 3/4 ounce model and get it, you know, maybe down to 10 or so. Fantastic if the lake that you're fishing has grass. Again, a lot of the lowland reservoirs that don't have grass, it's still perfect. You know, Kentucky Lake, Pickwick, places like that that have a lot of gravel bars, even though there's not grass on them, lipless crankbait's a great tool. And a lot of those fish, because of the water clarity being, you know, kind of low, they'll stay shallow even in 35-degree water. So you can catch a lot of fish with that. You know, I try to use a slow retrieve, have just enough, you know, contact with the bottom that I can keep this bait kind of bumping into the cover. You can rip it out of the grass, perfect. You know, a lot of the lakes that I fish maybe have a little steeper banks, a lot of highland reservoirs and that's where something like this, and this is a bait that I've been looking for a while from Strike King. It's called a lucky shad. The unique thing about this lure is it's got a very tight action, like, you know, some other minnow baits do, but it has a good rattle to it, and you'll notice that the bill's a little different. Most of these minnow baits that are on the market have a rounded bill. This one with that square cornered bill really deflects off the rocks and cover. I mean, this is a great bait for riprap, fishing channel banks and things like that, even throwing, you know, on laydowns. I typically throw this on a spinning rod with light line, 8 or 10 pound test. That's what gives it the liveliest action. Another thing with this bait is it's designed to almost suspend. In cold water, this bait will suspend. In warmer water, it has a slow rise to it. You know, I like crawdad colors as if I'm cranking the rocks and that. If I'm fishing a clearer lake and it's coming off the bottom, I'll use a shad pattern, and I'll tell you, it makes a great jerk bait where you can get it out off the bank from up shallow as it comes out in deeper water, stop it, twitch it a few times, let it pause for a couple of seconds. It's a great combination crankbait for, you know, for rocks and to kind of use as a jerk bait, which leads me to the jerk bait. And you know, the big thing that I'm really looking for this time of the year is what the fish are really keying on. I mean, if they're on the bottom eating crayfish, it's hard to beat that red-eye shad or something like that lucky shad, a crankbait that's getting down there banging into the rocks. If you're seeing a lot of gulls around, you're seeing bait, you know, shad dying on the surface, you know that the bass are going to be suspended, and that's where suspending jerk bait like this Strike King KVD jerk bait really come in. You know, I love this one right here. This crystal shad color, if the water has some clarity to it. If it's a little more stained, you can use, you know, chartreuse, sexy shad, something like that. The thing about the jerkbait is you gotta have clear water. You know, these other crankbaits, not so much. If you got stained or dirty water, they're still gonna work. If you don't have clear water, this is not even an option. So I like to, you know, I like to have at least 2.5 foot of clarity in the water, be able to see it that far down before I even pull out a jerkbait. If I've got real clear water, that's when this really shines. So, you know, in the spring of the year, early spring, you know, winter time, these are 3 baits that can help you find the fish quick, and they're still really good at catching them. So, I mean, I call them search and destroy baits, and it's what I use during this time of the year.